Alright, in this video, we're going to be ranking the Dishonored abilities from worst to best, starting off with number 10, Vitality 1 and 2. This is probably the most unessential ability in the game. You don't really need it. It might come in handy if you're a combat player and you want some extra health to be able to deal with enemies, but apart from that, it's not really that useful. Number 9, Wind Blast. This is a very cool ability to use, and I use it sometimes as well, but the downside is it's very expensive to upgrade and very costly to use. There are situations where there are multiple enemies and this ability is perfect for it, but I think your runes are better spent elsewhere. Number 8, Bend Time. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that think this ability should be somewhere near the top, but excuse me, I don't think it should be because number one, it is extremely expensive to use, and number two, it's extremely expensive to upgrade. This is the most expensive ability in the game. Now, obviously, it is extremely handy, but the problem is that it's not an ability that you can use very often. Well, maybe you can. If you have like 10 elixirs, maybe you can go spamming it if you want, but the problem with that is that, once you spam this ability, you're running low on mana, and that's not something you want in this game. I said once again that this ability is very good, but it's just way too expensive to own. Number 7, Possession. This is similar to Bend Time in that it's very expensive, and the real problem is that it's really hard to find situations where this ability is very effective. In the game, there are situations where there are multiple enemies, and the best course of action is just to not engage. And Made Possession can be used to, take yourself into a side room and, do something from there. But this ability requires quite a bit of ingenuity, and because it is so expensive, it's probably best not to own it. Number 6, Bloodthirsty. This ability is probably essential if you're a combat player. I don't really see why you wouldn't own this if you're doing a combat run. Um, but the real issue with this ability is that you always constantly have to be around enemies, multiple enemies, to get the best use of it. So if you're always like, I guess you wouldn't use this as a stealth player, but when you're in areas where there aren't any enemies, you're not really getting the most out of it. But I guess the other positive is that it's an ability that you pay for once, and you don't really have to use mana to, to be able to, use it. But at the same time, you do have to build up adrenaline to be able to, execute this ability. So this ability is a bit of a hit and miss. There are good things and bad things about it, but I guess it's down to interpretation. Number 5, Devouring Swarm. So this ability is, I think it's a very good ability. You can take out multiple enemies at the same time, and on top of that, this ability can be used as a distraction. But the downside is it is an expensive ability to use, and it does take quite a bit to upgrade it. Um, and yeah, I think the other positive as well is that not only can it be used to take down enemies, it can be used as a distraction so that you can go on and do other things. So it's also very good that way as well. Number 4, Dark Vision. This ability is probably an ability that not many people would use. Um, and I can see why. It's not really like essential. Like, you don't really need it to, traverse through the game. But it can come in handy if you're trying to get the ghost run, for example, or just in general, like you just want to know what's behind the wall, or what's going on in another section of the game, and you get this intel that you can use, and you can make plans on what to do next without engaging enemies. So it's very good that way. And the good thing about this ability is that it's cheap to upgrade, and it doesn't really cost much mana to use. So it's very good both ways. Um, and on top of that, once again, it's not an essential ability. Like you go with the whole game without using it, but it can come in quite handy, and that's why it's in the top 5. Number 3, Shadow Kill. So this ability, I think, should be essential because once you've taken out an enemy, they disappear, and basically, That's very good. I guess the only downside is that it does cost quite a bit of runes to upgrade, um, and that is can be quite expensive because you want to use the runes on other abilities besides this one. Um, but I do feel this ability is a godsend on a south run because with a south run you don't want to be seen, you don't want attention to be drawn to you, so you can take out enemies, they disappear, and it's like nothing happened, and I think it's just a solid ability all around. Number two, agility. The reason why this ability is second on this list is because of double jump. This is probably the most useful, well, maybe second to blink, but it's probably one of the most useful and effective abilities in the game because of double jump. It costs next to no mana to use, and you can get up to pretty high places without using blink. And on top of that, it's just so fun to use. It's really good. Everybody should get this ability and max it out. And basically, it doesn't really cost much to upgrade it. Once you fully upgrade this ability, obviously it doesn't cost mana to use. It's just ongoing, and it's very, very good. So yeah, the first ability is Blink, of course. This is easily the best ability in the game. It costs next to nothing to use. It's relatively cheap to fully upgrade, and you can get to so many places using it. Pretty much places that are inaccessible otherwise. Can't even get my words right. Um, yeah, there's not many bad things I can say about it. Even at the start of the game, you basically get this ability for free. So, there you go. Are there any negatives to this ability? Um, I don't really think so. I guess maybe the only negative is that, you know, the range isn't really well. I mean, the range is good enough in level two, but I guess some people will, complain that or argue it should be greater. But I think it's good enough, and I think it's probably the best ability in the game.